You get the thing. Hey, we are recording now.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. And can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Let's first start off by talking a little bit about timelines in regards to when you guys should be expecting your statements and things like that. So in your, you will get, it should always come to you by the middle of April. If you don't have it by September 1st, you can feel free to give me a call, then it got lost in the mail, but you will get your treasurer's packet in the mail sometime. It should be around the middle of August. And inside that packet, pop this open real quick. Sorry, you're gonna have to, I'm gonna unshare my screen for a second. Okay, apologize for that. I had it up, but I must have closed it. So in the treasurer's package, you're going to get a county financial statement. You will also get some expense sheets and income sheets, a worksheet for the current year, and then a treasurer's tips and tricks. Your locals will get the same information. The only difference is they're going to have a local sheet instead of the county sheet. Sorry, this is taking me a second to.
We need more screens around here.
We do.
Not
Okay.
enough monitors.
Not enough monitors. Okay, let me share again. Okay, so this is going to be a copy of the front and back of your financial report. The back side is where you sign it as a treasurer, and then your audit committee signs it. And your audit committee should have, it'd be preferable to have at least 3 people. It does not have to be 3, because I know some counties are much smaller, and so it's harder to get a lot of people together. But you should have, the treasurer can be there to answer questions, but the treasurer should not be on your audit committee. It needs to be somebody who does not sign checks. So if your president and treasurer are the ones that sign checks, then you could have your vice president and then just another member in your county. And what they need to go through, it's just a high level. You show them what your expenses were, what income you had that came in, look at the bank balances. And that's really all you need to do, is just a really high level view. And it's nice to have the treasurer there, or at least available to answer some questions in case any were to come up. And before I go too much farther, feel free to bop in or put a question in the comment box, and Jessica will be watching those questions. So just so we can give you covered there. This is the financial statement. You will have a paper copy, and those that are comfortable with electronic Excel copies, you guys should have those. The Excel sheet will have tabs. The main report tab, everything that's in yellow, will come over from either the income or the expense tab. So you should not be able to. Why wouldn't that happen?
I'll show you. So
Okay.
Select and then reselect the screen.
Okay, sorry. Technology problems. So I want this one.
Unless you can just select.
Okay. All right, hopefully you guys can see the statement I'm looking at. Everything that is in yellow here, like I said, you can't type over it. It should come over either from your income or your expense tab. So they should be, even if you were to like try to click in it. Oh, this is a really bad example because it let me. The one you guys have should not let you do that. Because if you type over here, if you type over it, then you'll lose your formula that's pulling from the other side. Okay, so in previous trainings, we had went through each statement, like through our test companies, and wrote the information down. So I think what I'm going to do is, yeah, this is going to be a sticker.
Well, I'm wondering if there's a way to just do your desktop to whatever on your. Oh. I'm so sorry. I don't.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, I think I figured it out.
You did it.
Yeah. Look at that. Okay. We went through and filled in each county statement per this fake statement. I don't think we're gonna go through that today. I can't get it to. See, I got it. It's all right. Okay. So it's kind of hard to, can you not see?
I can see it.
There. I wanted to minimize my
Yeah.
people. Okay. So when you get your statements come on a quarterly basis. So you should get them by probably the second week in the new quarter is when you should get them. You'll either get a check at that end of that quarter or you'll owe money to NDFU at that time. It is completely up to the county and how your guys' cash, how much cash you have on hand. If you owe money at the end of the quarter, you can just leave that balance there. And as the months go by, you'll get credit for dues, education funds, those kind of things. You might get expenses too, but that should then eventually you should get to a positive balance. Ideally, it's best if you just write a check at the end of the quarter, then it clears out your books and you start new the next quarter. But we also understand not every county has a lot of cash on hand or cash available. So you don't always have that ability, and that is just fine. If you ever run into an issue like that, you can always get a hold of me or Jessica and we can work with you guys. That's absolutely no problem. So some things you're going to see on your guys' statements. You're going to see dues every month. It's either going to be a debit or a credit. Now, in this case, where you can see here that the dues on October 31st was a debit of $35.50. You do not put that on your expense tab. It stays in the income tab and you just put it as a negative dollar amount. The reason we do that is then at the end of the year, we're only reporting the net difference between what you get back and what is taken away. And that is all determined by the month end process, like whether it's a due or a positive or a negative. That all happens within the database. It can be, you guys have new members, new checkoffs, people move from one co-op to another co-op. So it changes which county gets your credit. So there's lots of things that determine that. That's just kind of like a high overview of what the dues, where the dues comes from. Then you can see there is $143.50 credit. You can see it on the statement here that it's a credit. So that's easy one to look at. And you can see it's just a running balance over here on the right-hand side. Another thing you will see on your statements is if you have the state office do any printing for you. So in this case, for this test company, we had some annual meeting postcards that we had printed, and that is what that $150.10 expense is for. So then we go over to our expense, and the $150.10, that would fall into, in this case, because it's for annual meeting, I would put that expense in conventions, conferences, and meetings. I wouldn't necessarily put that under advertising. If it was a youth activity that you were advertising, an epic activity, something like that, I would put that then in youth activities. That way, when you are presenting to your counties, you'll be able to tell them exactly what those programs cost. Like in all, what it costs from beginning to end. So that's why I would recommend that's where you put that. Another thing you guys will get funds for is education funds. They'll either come two ways. One, it's going to come to the state office, and the state office disperses it per the board on the co-op or whoever's paying us. That's the percentage breakdown. They're the ones that determine that. So we'll pay those out, or some co-ops will send you money directly. So those we wouldn't have a record for in the state office. That's one of the reasons we need that breakdown, so we can report the right amount to the IRS that we received in education funds. And I'm sorry if I'm going too fast, just please let me know. So here's another dues. Okay, so if you look here, it usually happens in March every year. The state office will bill you for 3 insurances. And I'll just tell you really quick about them. And then we're going to have Clark pop on, and he's going to talk a little bit about what these things cover you for. We had at the meeting in Mandan, we had some really good questions. And one of those questions was if it's a secretary bond insurance, because that's how we have it written. That is not a secretary bond. That is an employee theft. We've never updated that verbiage. It's just stayed the same for years and years and years, but this next year it will be updated. So it's not, so it won't be as confusing. The other part
Go ahead.
is liability insurance and bus accident insurance. Those are 3 insurance policies that every county is charged on. And those are based on certain percentages, how much you have for members at the end of the year and so on.
Okay.
Did you have a question?
Yep, there was a question from one of the attendees. So only put the debit dues in the income tab, correct?
Both debit and credit dues are in the income, are on your income tab. The only difference is, yes, if it is a debit, you would put a negative in front. If it is a positive or a credit, then you would put nothing. It would just be blank. Well, not blank, sorry, but there wouldn't be that negative sign in front of it.
Ellen, you look like you were gonna say something.
No, okay. Clark, if you're there, give him a second to, I know he said he'd pop in here. So Clark will explain a little bit about what those insurances are, what you guys have coverage for, just as a high overview. Let's see, how do I
What do you need?
let Clark?
He can share his screen right now.
Okay, Clark, you can go ahead and share your screen. I stopped sharing mine.
All right. Are you guys, sorry, I just hung up another call.
No, that's
Um,
okay. I just
All right.
explained to them, Clark, the 3 policies or 3 premiums that we charge them for.
Okay, I missed that, but I'm gonna share my screen here and we can kind of get into it right away. And if you guys have any questions after I kind of go through it here, you can certainly give me a call after or ask questions right away or send me an email. And if I don't know it off the top of my head, I can certainly do some research and get back to you guys.
Great.
So let me. All right, so can you guys all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So how we have it set up with the NDFU policy is we have the county organizations listed as additional insureds on the policy, and it extends coverage for different sections of the policy to the counties and will be your guys' primary coverage for I believe the main thing that we were looking into was the crime coverages. Is that correct, Brandy?
That's correct. Yep, that we had a
Okay.
specific question about wanting to know if the treasurers were bonded.
Okay, if the treasurers
And it's
were
not, yeah.
were bonded through this policy?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Because we had the verbiage of secretary bond insurance for the longest time. And I made a note, next year we'll make sure we use employee theft, because that's truly what it is. I think the wording was confusing. So that was part of
Okay.
it.
Yeah, so when it comes to the treasurers and who is an insured on the policy, we can get into the definitions of the policy, and that should give us a good understanding of what the policy is looking to cover. But when it comes to the coverages that are included in the policy, so for employee theft, we are covered for up to $50,000 as a limit of insurance with a $500 deductible per occurrence. And then if there was ever cases of forgery or alteration, $2,500. And then it goes into some inside and outside the premise coverages that you guys can see here, and as well as counterfeit or money orders, $1,000 of coverage with the $500 deductible. So it's pretty basic in terms of the coverages that are offered here for the crime coverages, and it's farther down here, it does explain that the county organizations are included as joint insureds. It applies to employee theft insuring agreement only. So it's not applied to North Dakota Farmers Union camp operations or camp premises. So basically just the employee theft for the camps is going to be, or not the camps, excuse me, for the county organizations. And in terms of what if the treasurers were bonded, I guess that's something I'd have to talk with Cindy Wolf on and see if she knows more about that. I don't know. I guess I'm not really understanding, because usually if we need to be bonded, we'll go to like Newton bonding to get a
Yes. And that's why I knew that it really wasn't a secretary bond. Because then
Okay.
we'd need to have each treasurer's, you have to have a social security number and you have to provide more information. So in a case where, let's say a county has $250,000 worth of assets, so checking, savings, CDs, whatever. And somebody, their treasurer or an officer would take, let's say, $100,000 of that. So is only 50,000 covered? And they wouldn't have coverage for the other 50?
That is the limit on the policy, so
Okay,
regardless of the limit that was taken, that would be the most that we would possibly be able to claim on the insurance policy. Now, the would come down to kind of the specific situation, but in all reality, and when it comes to mishandling of funds in such a instance that you explained, that would more so be looking for like a directors and officers type coverage, is how I would understand that,
okay. And
with misuse of
currently,
funds.
they have we currently have a directors and officers, correct?
Well, I know it was brought up that we were going to look at getting D&O policies for each individual county. I don't know in terms of how they're covered right now on, like the master policy. I would have to do some research into
Okay.
that. That has like all of our entities on it.
Sure.
And see how or if the counties are included on that or not. But I remember we filled out a couple apps for a couple different
Yes.
counties and got some quotes back, and I don't think I ever did anything with them. But that, in
No.
terms of like the kind of the head, directors and officers of the organization and looking for coverages for things like that, or misrepresentation, mishandling of funds, things like that is gonna more so fall into like directors and officers. These
Okay.
coverages here are more so like if you have employees that are going out to an event for you and they collect $5,000 and come back with 2,500, or things like
Okay.
that.
Okay. Well, that helps
Um,
understand that
so
better.
yeah, and yeah, like employee theft. So I guess I hope that helped answer some of the questions that you guys had. And like I said, I'm happy to do some more research and dig into deeper if you guys have other questions.
So
But
Clark,
in terms of,
if a person would like to have their treasurer bonded or they would like additional insurance, is that something you would be able to help them with?
absolutely, yes.
Okay, perfect.
We would most likely, I'd reach out to Newton Bonding and kind of inquire with them and see what they would need. Would most likely just be a supplemental application that has some basic information on who we're looking to provide the bond for, and amounts and everything like that. And
Mhm.
they can have quotes back to us fairly quick.
Perfect. We can get all the participants your contact information, so we can share that with them. So if they have any questions or you guys are looking for some additional insurance outside of what we cover, you can get a hold of Clark and he'd be happy to help you guys.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. Were there any questions? Anybody else have any?
Mm.
Okay. If not, thank you so much, Clark. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to answer that information for us.
This is Ken Astrup. I do have a question.
Okay,
Everything you're talking about is talking about the counties. I'm the local secretary treasurer. Does any of this apply to me?
so Clark, the locals are under the county umbrella.
Yep.
So they would be covered. Is that correct in saying?
If they would fall under the NDFU county organizations, I don't think there is a specific like one that says NDFU local organizations. There's just this.
Okay. Just the
So
count.
if they fall under this umbrella here,
Yes.
then yes.
For tax purposes, absolutely they do.
Yeah.
They fall underneath each county in their respective area, and then they fall underneath NDFU as a whole, as a group.
Okay,
So
Thank you.
if that
then yes.
helps, Claire.
Ken, did you have a follow-up?
Oh, I just said thank you.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yep,
Sorry, we didn't
absolutely.
hear it. Thank you.
It just glitched out a little bit. Thanks, Ken. Okay, good question. All right, if there isn't anything else, again, Clark, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yes, you bet.
Okay.
Okie dokie. All right, so hopefully that helps clarify a little bit about the insurance and what we all take care of for you guys. I just need to get my screens redone here.
I have a quick question. Who is the 701-425 number that joined? No, they don't want to tell me. All right. I don't know. Numbers in the system.
Okay, so that's where we left off with was insurance. So on your expense tab, and Ken, we don't, since you're with the locals, that's a great point. I don't have an Excel sheet for locals. I could easily get one if that is something you would like. So if it is, just let me know and I can get one for you.
I keep everything all my records on an Excel sheet right now, so that's not an issue.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
Jessica, this is Gina. You got me on there though, right?
Yeah, I got you. Yep, got you, Gina.
All right, I just logged on, so that's why I was wondering.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so then it just simply goes underneath your, scoot all the way over here. You're gonna see it under the insurance tab there. You see there, we've got some dues. And on this statement, you can see there's $125.38 for that youth postcard mailing. Like I stated earlier, I would keep those in the same category as the event. So since it's a youth event, I would put that expense under the youth activities. This county, our test county, received a grant award from the state office. And there is not an extra line for that on the main sheet here. So it just falls underneath that other, since it's something that doesn't happen very often and it's not applicable to all counties. That's why we just put it in here under the grant award. Okay, add cost share credits. We handle your ad cost share just as you do your dues. So in this case, you can see there's a $95 credit to your guys' statement. So I put it in the expense as a negative, which then reduces your advertising expense. I would put that if you had, like in this case, we had extra advertising that wasn't part of a specific project. So that's why I put it underneath the advertising. So in the end, it just reduces your advertising expense from $190 to $95. Now, if you did add cost share credit because it was an epic event, and you put the expense in your activity, that's where I would put that income as well. Because technically it's not income, that's why we don't record it as such. It is just reducing the county's overall expense for that activity. So. So there were. You will receive the treasurer's cheat sheet. There is a lot of information on there that's going to kind of help you categorize your expenses. Feel free to reach out to me at any time that you guys have questions as well. The one thing that does seem to trip several people up is when you're talking about the checkbook balance. On this example, we had a checkbook balance of $5,519.23. My bank statement, that should be the balance for the checkbook as of 9/30/20, as of 9/30. So that would be your balance. Now, let's say you had some checks outstanding, deposits that are not NDFU related. Well, let me take that back. What I would do is I would put, if you have checks that haven't cleared, even though this says less payable to NDFU, I would put that information in there. Same with your deposits. Obviously, the money, if you owe money to NDFU at the end of the year, you would have that less payable to NDFU in there as well. Same with your dollar per member check that you're gonna get in the probably by the middle of October. That should be in your deposit and transit. In the end, we want to see what if all deposits were in, all checks were cleared, what you guys would have for a balance in your checkbook. I know sometimes that gets a little, that can be one of the things that we find that are not, they just get transposed. That and your beginning balance, that should be not the balance in your checkbook at the end of the year. It should be what you recorded to the state office at the end of the year. So in this case, our test company had a balance of $9,768.87. So that should be the amount of my check in my net checkbook for next year. And same with my credit union balance, the savings should be the same. So in the end, this number here should be the same amount here. And sometimes if there is a difference, I will reach out to you and let you know why there was a difference. It can be just the timing of recording your local assistance. Because counties, you guys are you're considered cash basis. It doesn't necessarily make sense because you're not getting that cash until October. But we have to record the amount to the IRS that we paid out as of the end of the fiscal year. So even though you guys are not getting it until October, that's why that's a case where you would record it in that year that you're closing, not in the next year. So I completely understand why it does get confusing, because that part just doesn't necessarily seem to really make sense. But for totaling everything up for the taxes, that's why we do it that way.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So if you had money back for the end of the quarter,
Mhm.
and you also send the member dues amount,
Yep.
does that go in the, where you're at, not less payable, but the other one? I'm not looking at the sheet right now.
Yes, so
You
in,
add them together and put it in there.
yes. Yep,
Okay, thank you.
exactly right.
Thank you.
You bet. I do want to take a moment and do our, in order for the people that are watching the recording to get credit. I don't like doing fun facts. I love doing dad jokes. That is what I do in my family. They moan and groan every time I tell a joke. So this is the joke. How did the organic vegetable die? Of natural causes.
I love it.
So there you go.
No,
People
we love
are
it.
that are watching the recording. It's because of natural causes. Okay. So is there any other questions? I know we kind of went quickly through that. Oh, one other thing I did want to mention. We've been reaching out and collecting the county's bank account information, those that are interested in doing the ACH deposits. We were hoping to have it fixed last quarter. We're having an issue with our software program that isn't allowing us to do it. So I am collecting everything. Everything is in there ready for our programmers to get it finished so we can hit the send button. My overall hope is by the end of the year, we have that. So your guys' money will get put into your account much sooner than how you guys get it in the mail currently. Things that kind of can trip us up at the end of the year is if we're not able to balance the membership. We can't run all the other numbers to know what we got to pay you guys for dollar per member and things like that. So that's usually what holds us up at the end of the year. But hopefully by getting that ACH deposits in there, that will make things much easier. We can email your statements. Currently, what we're going to do, we'll still mail out the statements. We don't have an easy way right now to, like, on a one-off basis, it's not a big deal. We can make it work, but to do it for all the counties, currently we don't have the ability to do that. So you'll still get those in the mail. If you're waiting on them, if it's a short deadline for your guys' annual meeting, please just reach out to me and I can, I or somebody in my department can get those over to you right away. So we can send them, we can email them at that time.
The other thing I wanted to mention, but Carol, you're still not on mute. Did you have a follow-up question?
No, I don't. Okay, I'll fix that.
You're fine.
Yeah.
My only other note is there is a county that only had one person on their checking and savings account, and it became a very tall task for us to either try to add someone or get someone from the state office because that county is currently in limbo. If you do not have two people on your checking and savings account that do not live in the same household, you should. And your board should like adopt something to say, hey, we want to add the president to the checking account along with the treasurer. Now, if the president and the treasurer are husband and wife, maybe it's the vice president and the treasurer, so it's a little different. But you should definitely have two people on your checking and savings accounts because that protects the organization and it protects the assets of the organization. So that's what I had.
Yeah. So deadlines to look at, for the treasurer's training to get the stipend for that. Your audited financials need to be turned into the office by November 30th. The last date for turning your financials in is the end of December.
Hey,
And-
Jessica,
Go ahead, John.
so do you want their name on the checkbook also, like on the check blanks? Or
They
just
don't
didn't
have
need
to be a
access?
my example in life is always, if I get hit by a bus, something has to happen. I mean, the
Right.
business still has to go on. So
Right.
you need to be able to have that in place. So yes,
Okay, nope, I agree. It's a good idea.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
you bet. And I don't know where I go that I would get hit by a bus, but you never know.
Yeah, Jamestown.
James.
Josh drives crazy. No, just kidding. Josh is a great driver. I would also note, to get the treasurer's incentive, you cannot send in unbalanced financials and then after the deadline or like right at the deadline, your financials need to be balanced, and if you need more help, that needs to be made clear that, okay, I need a little bit of help here, I can't figure this out. But if you send us unbalanced financials on November 30th, you will not receive the incentive.
And for my help, I am always available, with the exception, we have a little bit of a caveat there. It's most of the month of October is when I'm not always available, but I know Jessica is always willing to help. Your MRS is always willing to help. If you are working on it quarterly and you run into a question, please call me. We can get it figured out.
With that, any other questions? Oh my, we're gonna finish 3 minutes early. Look at that. Well, thank you guys all for attending. You'll
Thank
still get the
you.
email with the YouTube links and the cheat sheets, and we'll send it all for you and Clark's contact information. So thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Hey, Brandy,
Yeah,
so you said we should all have the access to this Excel. So like you emailed it to me. Do I have to like delete all the information so I can start fresh? Or do you have like a fresh Excel tab we can start?
I can send you a new one.
Okay, just so I can put my ending 23 balance in, and then I can just do this quarterly instead of wait till the last minute.
Sounds good. This is John, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Okay, I will get that out to you.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Are you sending that out to everyone then or not?
I sure can. I was just thinking that. I'll just send it to the whole group.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah, I concur. That'd be great.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes, thank you all for taking the time to sit with us. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you as well.
No,
Yep.
thank
Yes,
you.
we do. Thank you.
Thank you,
Enjoy the
Brandy.
rest of your afternoon.
Yes, you guys too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.